Week 11 of the NFL season is upon us, and it's time to make our six-pack of picks for some of our favorite games of the week, including a really awesome one to kick us off on Thursday night, the Bengals at Ravens, and a whole lot more coming at you right now.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look into the NFL on the field and in the front office. With elite breakdowns, next-level analysis, and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Big ups to all the everydayers out there. Make sure you are one. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson, just like every Thursday, is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks, daily fantasy made easy. The easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Download the app. Use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. All right, with the exception of the Thursday nighter, we'll finish with that one here, making our picks. The rest of the games, we decided to go with some bigger lines this week. All of our other 5 picks in our 6-pack are games that are a touchdown or more, and it starts, Matt, with the New York Jets at the Buffalo Bills. The Bills at home, favored by a touchdown, 7 points here. A big shakeup for the Buffalo Bills after too many losses mounting, and a Monday nighter where they fired Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator. Quarterbacks coach Joe Brady now will be coordinating the offense for Sean McDermott and those Buffalo Bills, hosting the Jets. And really quick note here on the New York Jets, because Jets head coach Robert Saleh told reporters this week that he's sticking with Zach Wilson, that he, quote, has actually been playing pretty well, end quote, Robert Saleh. So that tells you about whatever else is going on in the QB room, that they don't think there's someone that's going to give them a better chance to win than Zach Wilson right now, unless that miraculous recovery from Aaron Rodgers' Achilles continues. And Aaron Rodgers did say this week that he's going to be back with the team on a full-time basis starting in about Thanksgiving or so. Now, it doesn't mean he's going to be ready to play at Thanksgiving. That just means he's going to start rehabbing there instead of away from the facility. So we'll see how that looks. New York Jets on the road at the Bills. I feel like they might run into a buzzsaw here. Like, not quite the interim head coach bump that we've seen the Raiders get, who, by the way, are in this 6-pack, but just maybe a wake-up call to everybody and say, look, be on notice, because your job could be next, Buffalo Bills, if you don't start playing better.
I have that same feeling. Yeah, and I didn't bite on that when the Raiders made a big coaching move, and I feel like I should have. But the talent in Buffalo is just so much better than with the Raiders, too. Like, if you do light a fire under them and they play better and they're not as sloppy with the football, they should handle this team pretty easily. I mean, this is a top 3 offense against a bottom 3 offense, and I understand the Jets defense is very respectable, very good. And I could paint the picture where the Bills aren't moving the football and the Bills Mafia starts turning on them and gets all ticked off. But I think the Bills kind of blow their doors off in this one.
And it could be a sneaky low-scoring game as well because of that Jets defense. And what if Josh Allen tries to do too much and starts throwing the ball to the other team, and a team that can cover better than maybe any team in the league right now with the New York Jets secondary? That would be one of the worries. And if it is a lower scoring game, then 7 points is a lot. That's probably why it's not more than 7 points with this line, because the Bills should be favorites here and should be playing a lot better. I do think there's going to be some regression with some of the turnovers and some of the funky stuff. They fumbled the ball the first play of the game. Some of those things are going to work themselves out anyway, and it wouldn't have mattered if they fired their offensive coordinator or not. I do expect to see that this week. But morale is starting to feel like it's getting a little bit lower for the Jets. They're at 4-5 now, and they're a half a game behind the 5-5 Bills. But I think there's a big talent gap here, especially on offense, because of the quarterback play. So if Josh Allen's not turning the ball over, this should be a big win for the Buffalo Bills. To put that offense into perspective, I got another note here on the Jets. The Jets have scored 3 touchdowns in the last 5 games on offense. 3.
Okay.
Those 3 touchdowns were a 72-yard run from Breece Hall, a 50-yard screen pass from Breece Hall, and an 8-yard touchdown run from Breece Hall where the Eagles let him score at the end of the game situation, in a clock situation. So those are the touchdowns that going back to October that the Jets have scored on the offensive side of the ball.
And as you mentioned, like, oh, Zach's actually playing pretty well. Like the lot. Does Quinn and Williams believe you? You know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah, and it's like, okay, cool. You made a nice no look, and then you threw it to the other team right after that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And one thing I like to pay attention to this time of year, and I really stressed it yesterday with the Browns-Steelers matchup, is how many plays are you playing against your opponent? Well, the Jets have snapped the ball 540 times, and their opponents have snapped the ball 600 times. Like, when that discrepancy starts to get 50, 60, a whole game's worth of difference, the defense starts looking around like, man, I'm beat up, and this is getting old. I see the writing on the wall.
And you start getting tired when your offense doesn't hold the ball long enough and your defense is out in the field the whole game. And then that's when a team at home, Buffalo Bills, better football team, sort of starts to walk away from you on the scoreboard. So, yeah, give me the Bills. I don't love the 7 points against that Jets defense, but I just don't think the Jets offense is going to score enough.
I'm with you. Yeah.
49ers, another big line here. Not the biggest line of the week, but the 49ers at home are favored by 11.5 points hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Matt. Niners, after what I saw, what they did to the Jaguars on the road coming off a bye, man, it's hard for Vegas right now to put the line big enough for people not to bet on the 49ers, which is why it's 11.5 points. And I read an article during the bye week for the 49ers that even after a 3-game losing streak, the Niners were still the third highest odds on FanDuel to win the Super Bowl because teams are still betting. Like the bookmakers in Las Vegas don't want the 49ers to win the Super Bowl because everyone bet on them. And even after they lost 3 games, I was waiting to bet on them myself. So I thought the odds would come down, and they didn't, even after losing 3 straight games. So right now, a lot of money comes in on the 49ers because of how they played in the first 5 games and then seeing exactly what they just did again, like those first 5 games to the Jaguars last week.
Yeah, I understand everything you just said, and I think a week ago was a great time to bet on the Niners to win the Super Bowl because I do think they're a powerhouse. I just think this number is a little high. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little disrespectful to Tampa, who I look at as like the most average team in the league. Like they're just even right in the middle, kind of on both sides of the ball. They're fine, a little bit better on offense than they are on defense. But I think they can hang around, get a late touchdown. I'm not saying it's going to be a super competitive game, but the fact that it's double digits seems high to me.
There's an extra little factor in this game that a lot of people might not look at, and a lot of people might not really think about or talk about, and that is the factor of going all the way back to their college days with Nick Bosa and Baker Mayfield, and there's a little extra, now you have Chase Young, who was at Ohio State with Nick Bosa, and there's the famous Baker Mayfield waving the flag. And we saw when Baker Mayfield was on the Browns, Nick Bosa sacks Baker Mayfield. He waves the flag. They're going to be coming after him. And that defense that doesn't need a lot more motivation. I will say the Buccaneers we talked yesterday on the mailbag about winning the razor thin margins and winning those close games. And the Bucs have lost a lot of those close games. But they're a respectable football team. I do think they're teetering on a potentially like, oh my gosh, we're going to start looking towards next year situation. But their division is in a place where at 4-5, they can't think that way right now. But would a blowout to the Niners sort of put them over the edge? I like the Niners in this one. I probably would not take the number just because it's so big. I would avoid it. But I don't think I would take the Buccaneers and take the points either. But if I'm forced to take one, and we're looking at the bigger lines today, 11.5, I think I would still go Niners. They're in blowout mode right now. So I'm going to believe that's the team that shows up for the 49ers. It's going to be a tough trip across country for the Bucs.
Yeah, I would not put money on it, to be honest with you. I just feel like the number should be like 9.5, and it just seems a little high to me, being double digits.
Next, we've got Bears-Lions division matchup, another big one, 9 points there. Can the Raiders keep it going? This time they've got the Miami Dolphins at their house and the Dallas Cowboys at the Carolina Panthers coming up in week 11, a Sunday 6-pack next. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by DoorDash. Did the game just go to timeout? It's time to order in with DoorDash. Is it halftime? That's ordering time. 2-minute warning. You got it. That's your cue to order in with DoorDash. Whether you are fixing up your game day spread or you are trying to go get groceries for your own, get the DoorDash involved and DoorDash those groceries. You can go retail as well at DoorDash. There's no shortage of ways to DoorDash your football Sunday. And my favorite locally, I like to go to Pizza Hacker. Got the sourdough pizza crust. I know if you're in Pittsburgh, Permanis, the sandwiches, right? That's the way to go.
That's a big one.
Yeah. For you to order all of your favorites. And of course, a special offer for our listeners. Get 50% off up to $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter code LOCKED23. Subject to change. Terms apply. Again, that's 50% off up to $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter code LOCKED23 with DoorDash. Subject to change. Terms apply. Let's go to Detroit. They are on fire. They are the number 2 seed right now in the NFC, and the Bears have been in a bad place. And we saw the Tyson Bagent show for a few weeks. It's looking like Justin Fields. I haven't seen official note yet that he's going to be playing, but he started practicing last week, and they didn't want to push it, but now he's back. He's practicing. Justin Fields back at quarterback for the Bears. They've shown some signs of being a competitive football team, Matt, despite their record. Is this the week? Familiar foe. Could they go to the Detroit Lions house and knock them off in week 11 with Justin Fields?
What's the number you're seeing on this one? Last I saw was 9.
9 points.
Okay.
Yeah. Lions favored by 9 at home.
It's a good number. I think the Bears D, particularly their secondary, and now that they've added Sweat, doesn't stink, So I mean, I think that's a step in the right direction. I think Fields coming back is helpful, and I think this is a good time, or not a great time to play the Bears. There's been down points of the year where they're a lesser football team than I think they are right this minute. But I love how the Lions are playing. I'm going to take the points. I mean, division game with a big number like that, usually they keep it close.
Yeah, I'm banking on division game. I'm banking on the offense looking better with Justin Fields, which hasn't always been the case throughout his career. But, with Bagent, there was just no big play element with that offense. And they'll have that with Justin Fields, both with his legs and his ability to throw the ball down the field. Can he play efficient ball against the Lions? And then that'll keep that closer than 9 points to me. Of course, the Lions are favored and they should win this game. But I'm going to take the points with the Bears with Justin Fields back. And this is a huge portion of, Justin Fields needs to stay healthy and he needs to play well because he's playing for a job right now the rest of this year.
Yeah, either in Chicago or Atlanta or Minnesota or who knows where. But yeah, he's auditioning.
Matt, will the Antonio Pierce led Las Vegas Raiders be smoking cigars after they travel to Miami this weekend and play the Dolphins? Dolphins at home, biggest line of the week, favored by 12.5 points against those Raiders.
I like the Dolphins big here. I think you give that offensive mastermind a week off, and Waddle's been fighting a bunch of stuff, and Achan comes back, and I kind of feel like the honeymoon's over a little bit with the coaching staff in the Raider land here, and when you look deep down at it, they're just not super talented, and Fangio has 2 weeks to prepare and make some tweaks, and how to use Jalen Ramsey, and
Fangio has seen 2 weeks worth of tape now on the new look Raiders. That's not going to be a sneak attack anymore.
Yeah, in their building, I think Miami runs the score up heavy here.
I do too. It's going to take a superhuman effort from Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs and Aiden O'Connell finding those guys, and I don't see it happening. There's a reason this is a huge line. It has to be big, or else nobody would bet on the Raiders. 12.5 is a big line in the NFL these days, but I think this has 30-3 sort of a potential. So I'm going to give up the points and take the Dolphins here and think this is going to be a big blowout win for Miami. But man, I do like what I saw from Antonio Pierce. And, at this point, and we've seen it before with interim coaches, it doesn't always work out the next year, but he might be earning himself the future head coaching job right now.
Maybe.
But yeah, full power. Achan, Waddle, everybody back.
Yeah.
Time to prepare. well-rested team at home. Dolphins have played so good at home, especially versus, less talented opponents. And this spells huge win for the Dolphins here at 6-3.
Yeah, I mean, I know the Raiders' record indicates that they're not a bad team, and they're not a horrific team, but they're several tiers below a full-go Dolphins squad, and that's the games that the Dolphins blow your doors off.
How about this one? The Dallas Cowboys favored by 10.5. They're on the road at the 1-win Carolina Panthers. Should this be a bigger line for the Cowboys, who just did a number on the Giants last? The Cowboys have almost a plus 80, just 2 games against the New York Giants this year. So they're not playing the Giants, but they're playing a team with a worse record than the Giants in the Carolina Panthers right now, Matt. So 10.5, you're getting 10.5 with the Panthers at home. It's a big home dog number.
I don't think it's nearly big enough. I mean, you're starting to hear little whispers about Dak Prescott in the MVP conversation. And just like the Dolphins, it's just a coincidence that we have these games back to back, that when Dallas sees a bad team, I know that Arizona gave them problems, but they tend to put up a lot of points and blow your doors off. And then that defense heats you up like crazy. Like, how many sacks is Parsons going to have? I think they win this one by 20. I mean, Carolina's really bad. If it's not for the Giants, Carolina's the worst team in the league.
I'm trying to picture all the ways this could go bad, and one of them would have to be that Dak starts throwing a bunch of interceptions, but he's been great in the turnover-worthy throws category this year. They've got playmakers. Cooks is making plays. CeeDee Lamb's been the best receiver in the league.
Unbelievable.
The last month plus. So I'm not even worried about the away game, not worried about the trip. I don't think it's going to be tough. I think the crowd's going to be quiet early in that game. So, again, not big enough. One of these big games is going to flip, but right now it's hard to see Niners, Dolphins, or the Cowboys not winning in a pretty big fashion for me. That's the way I'm looking at it right now.
Real quick, I'll kind of cross promote here that Ryan and I for Locked On Dynasty, we're talking about every month we go and look at all the positions dynasty ranks as they change. And for a while now, Jefferson and Chase have been the top 2 wide receivers, and then you just draw a line under them. Whoever you like better, great. Well, right now, all of a sudden, A.J. Brown and CeeDee Lamb are kind of knocking on the door to be, I don't want to say dynasty wide receiver 1, but those guys are so hot right now and young and talented. Like, in the world of fantasy, if you could have CeeDee Lamb or A.J. Brown for the rest of their life, it's not much worse than Jefferson or Chase.
Yeah, and with Lamb too, when you have that connection with your quarterback trusts you. Your offensive play caller is finding ways to get you the ball, moving you around to specifically get you open to throw you the football. And Lamb's playing with a crazy amount of confidence right now, making one-handed catches, and it's just like it's all coming together with CeeDee Lamb and Dak and that Dallas offense. So they play a little bit of defense as well. That team can. So getting after a young quarterback, Micah Parsons, that's death, pressure on a young quarterback. So
big time.
On paper, I don't see anything going well for the Carolina Panthers here.
I don't like it for them at all.
All right, next, we've got an awesome Thursday nighter. Let's preview Bengals at the Ravens in Week 11. Next. But today's episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by Jace Medical and the Jace Case. I just learned about Jace Medical. You can get a 1-year supply of ED medications along with the Jace Case with 50 plus, with 5 antibiotics that can fix up to 50 plus ailments if you might be in an emergency situation. So they've got a refill for you with generics for ED medications like Cialis, Viagra, and you can go online right now at jacemedical.com and receive your 12-month supply of whatever daily medication you or your family might need. And remember to use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a discount as well. And you never know when you might be in that emergency situation with supply chain shortages. You don't want to be caught unprepared. You might be traveling with your family. Maybe you're traveling to a place where you might not have cell service in case of an emergency. And get those antibiotics, those medications that your family needs, 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use in the Jace Case, and anything else that your family might need specifically for you with board-certified physicians Get ongoing care from your physicians at JaceMedical.com. Doctor created, doctor recommended, Jace Medical, JASE medical.com. So if you or someone you love would get some peace of mind by having a year supply of any daily med, go to JaceMedical.com to see if it is offered for you. Remember to use promo code Locked On for $20 off your purchase at JaceMedical.com. All right, here we go. This is an awesome game to start off the week here on Thursday Night Football, and it is the Cincinnati Bengals at the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens at home favored by 3.5 points here, Matt, and the Cincinnati Bengals their backs are against the wall. They've got to start winning some football games because the tiebreakers are not going to look fondly on them at the end of the season. They were looking like they were that team, and then came up with a loss that last week that is something that they've got to overcome. 5-4, they're digging themselves a hole, and really the best way for them to get into the playoffs is just go ahead and go win that division. And what are you going to do to win the division? Well, you got to be the team that's number one right now in the 7-3 Ravens.
Yeah, this is desperation time. I mean, Cincinnati and Buffalo right now are on the outside looking in the AFC. And as you mentioned, all the AFC tiebreakers are not in their favor for wild card spots. I think Buffalo might have to win their division to get in. I think Cincy's getting close to that. This would be a massive blow. I don't think we're going to see Higgins. I don't think we're going to see Hendrickson's banged up for Cincinnati, but the Ravens, I know Stanley, the left tackle, Humphrey's banged up. So these short weeks, there's always injury concerns, and we'll see. There's not a lot of great information because they don't really practice in Baltimore. So Steelers are playing the Browns, Bengals are playing the Ravens. So it's an all AFC North weekend. And so I forget what podcast I heard, but it was a betting one talking about this division, that there's a massive trend that in AFC North games, you just take the points. And boy, does that add up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what the spread is in Steelers Browns or Steelers Ravens or Bengals Browns or whatever. I'm just taking the points. And I feel like every team's going to be like 3-3 in the division again.
So, the Bengals can get by without Higgins. Higgins is a good player, but I hate the loss of Hendrickson for them in this.
Me too.
But what I love for the Bengals is, big DJ Reader inside, their linebacker play. They should be better against the run than some of the teams the Ravens have gone up against in recent history. And can Joe Burrow find Jamar Chase enough? And again, I want to lean towards the points, but with what I've seen recently from these two teams, it's hard not to be excited about where the Ravens are, and being the home team on a short week, which is usually a scheduled loss for that team on the road many times in the NFL. Wasn't a division game. If it wasn't the Bengals, I would take the Ravens easily with 3.5, but I think you're onto something with that division and these teams. And we see it every single year when the Ravens play the Steelers and the Bengals play the Browns and the Bengals play the Steelers. Yeah, they're going to be tight games. They're going to be hotly contested. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And so I'm going to take the points, but I would lead toward, just because I think it's going to be a 3-point game either way, and you're getting 3.5. But I would lean toward the Ravens, but I'm going to see a little more from Lamar as well. And it might have to be more from Lamar in this game to go win it.
Agreed. If I was betting money line, I would bet the Ravens. I just home, short week, physicality of these teams, probably just helps with, being the home team on a short week and but they are coming off a lot of snaps played against the Browns, who frankly pushed the Ravens around. But I kind of like that from a Harbaugh perspective, that I'm sure, because I watched that Browns-Ravens game a lot, and the Browns were the more physical team. Rarely do you say that about the Ravens. But when a team like the Steelers or Ravens gets pushed around, it like never happens the next week. You know what I mean? Like, practices are stressed that we are not going to be the less physical team again.
I mean, it can take, it's taxing though, I would say. And so you see when teams go against a really good defense, they do have some hangovers. I don't know if it's going to happen to Harbaugh's team, but it wouldn't shock me if both these teams are, a little slow and it's a little ugly, which is like, okay, yeah, give me the points all day on those types of Thursday games. And we just see those all the time on Thursday with some really ugly football games and some funky starts, especially.
So this is strange too. Like, if you're the Ravens and you win this game and you got the 10 days off, wow, what an exhale. Like, we're in great shape. Meanwhile, if the Bengals get the win, it's like, we still have a lot of work to do. You know, we got to go to Kansas City and Miami. I mean, we still are just digging out of the hole. But
although
what
6-4 and 7-4, the Bengals, and they'll get a mini bye. I mean, you'll feel really good about that too if you're the Bengals, even though you know there's a lot on the horizon. That's the loser of this game. If you're the Bengals, I think it just means more to the Bengals, because if you're 5-5 and now the Ravens are 8-3 and you're 2-5 in the conference, you're not going to get any tiebreakers. And this is near must win for a Week 11 game for the Cincinnati Bengals.
That's 100% agree. And if they do win, Steelers Browns is for first place in the division, which doesn't pass a sniff test at all. I don't know if the Steelers or Browns are even good. I'm pretty certain both these teams are good. You know, like I think the Ravens or Bengals could win the Super Bowl. The Browns and Steelers can't win the Super Bowl.
But I wouldn't think so.
They might be in first place.
Maybe we'll see a crazy CJ Stroud like run for DTR in the Browns. And in fact, it's a good tease for tomorrow's show. It's going to be one of our picks tomorrow. We're going to pick Steelers, Browns, and the rest of the games on the Week 11 schedule, including those prime timers. Thanks everybody for making Peacock and Williamson your first listen. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. Matt and I back tomorrow making picks for Week 11 right here, Peacock and Williamson.